If you're looking for the best Mario Kart toy, then you can't go wrong with Mario Kart Live. The big draw for me in the first place was knowing that I'd be able to make special tracks with my toy collection. My first track was Mega Man themed. It starts with the classic series, and as you progress around the track, the franchise progresses with the kart, passing by the different Mega Man series over the years. After racing on this track a bit, my family learned that not only do you control the theme of the track, you could also set up your own house rules to use when playing. One of our favorite variations was what we called a blind race, meaning that you couldn't look at the screen. Instead, you had to look at the track. This would give you tank controls, unless you wanted to walk behind your kart as you were racing. After having our fill of the Mega Man track, we wanted to mix up the track and the rules, so we started working on a Rainbow Road track, this time using these exercise mats to create a rainbow pattern on the floor to shape the course. As I started to get some Mario toys to decorate the track, this is when I started thinking about how Nintendo toys are nothing new. Sometimes I forget that Nintendo as a company has been around for over 130 years. Being founded in 1889, Nintendo as a company existed long before video games did. I feel like when Nintendo is known for anything other than video games, the first thing people remember is the Hanafuda cards. At one point, Nintendo had licensed characters like Mickey Mouse and Snoopy for their cards. But in between cards and video games, Nintendo was most known for toys. The Ultra Hand was a toy used to grab things from far away. The Love Tester had you hold hands with another person, and then would tell you how compatible you were. The Chiritori is a vacuum that spins in a circle and only moves forward when the single button on the controller is held down. Often you can find these toys as direct inspiration for later video games. Wild Gunman was a two-player game similar to Crossfire before it was an NES game. Duck Hunt started out as a light gun game that was projected onto a wall before it was an NES game. It's always been fun for me to find small references to Nintendo toys and Nintendo video games. My first find that started me on this Easter egg hunt can be found in Super Mario Land 2, 6 Golden Coins. Here you have a stage that looks like it's made out of Lego bricks, but as you can see here, they are branded as N and B blocks, the Lego-like bricks created by Nintendo. The Love Tester can be found in the Majora's Mask remake on the 3DS. The Ultra Hand was created into its own WiiWare game. And the Chiritori can be found in a multiplayer microgame for the Game Boy Advance in WarioWare Inc. In this interesting game, two players hold a single Game Boy, each with one hand, and use their own shoulder button to direct the vacuum in the same fashion as the Chiritori vacuum toy. Most rubbish collected wins. When Nintendo came out with Amiibo, it felt like they were chasing the Toys to Life trend that was set by games like Skylanders and Disney Infinity. But with Labo and Mario Kart Live, it feels like Nintendo is embracing the integration between toys and technology again, like they did with the Love Tester in the original Duck Hunt game. I'll be the first to admit that crossing technology and toys can make for an expensive trip to the store, but this is what sets Nintendo apart from other big game companies. Microsoft and Sony are electronics companies. Microsoft leans more towards the software side of it, and Sony leans more towards the hardware side of it. But Nintendo's roots are in games and toys, and I feel like the more they embrace it, the more they will stand out from their competition. I believe that this has been in their plan for years now. When Nintendo released the Wii, they made a formal break from the philosophy of the other two companies. Instead of focusing on the raw power of the console, Nintendo would instead focus on the experience of the player while playing the console. This can lead to things like motion controls, additional screens, and games where you count the marbles in a box that don't exist. But there are some ups and downs during the process of ironing out the good ideas from the bad, but in the end, we get experiences like Mario Kart Live, where you can make a Rainbow Road course in your basement. We ended up making two versions of our Rainbow Road course. One that I made on stream with my brother that uses mostly Disney characters to line the track. And the final version, that is likely the most authentic Mario Kart track that I made, uses Super Mario toys to line the figure-8 shaped track. The big perk about doing this was that there was a Rainbow Road overlay theme in Mario Kart Live, so we got to play our Rainbow Road track with a Rainbow Road overlay from the game. The house rules for this track was that you had to play two roles, the kart driver and Lakitu. If your car fell off the track, the ridge was just high enough to prevent the car from driving back up the track. So you had to get up, reset your kart, and then before you could keep going, you needed to return to your seat. It definitely added a new dimension to playing Mario Kart. There are a lot of advantages to playing games through a computer program. The program can automatically keep track of things like your score, how many lives you have left, the enemy patterns, and it can even replace a human opponent. But the game is limited by the bounds of that computer program. You can crack it open and mod it, perhaps use some Game Genie codes to hack the game a bit. But if you get too far, then you start making a different game and not modifying the existing game. This is how we got games like Dota and Team Fortress. One reason that I enjoy board games is that they are not bound by a computer program. When we play Candyland at my place, you can pick your mover from any figure in the house. Sometimes we will grant special powers if you're on a certain colored square. Other times you will need to battle an enemy. This is usually done to keep the game close between my 3 children. One of my favorite board games is Villainous, and we have house rules for that as well. I don't play D&D myself, but I have friends that do, and they tell me that this is exactly the draw for them. There are no bounds. The only limit is what the collective group can come up with under the direction of the Dungeon Master. That is the big draw of Mario Kart Live for me, being free from the game code. The game monitors the state of play, how many laps each player has driven, and who's the first to cross the finish line. It can even provide computer players if needed. But all the other rules were set by me and the other players. The shape of the track, if you even needed to follow the track. The computer would monitor the items and their effects if we were planning on using them. But everything provided by the screen was optional, including if we wanted to use the screen at all. It felt like the freedom of a board game, but with the benefits of a computer to monitor each player's progress and provide extra features if needed. I feel like this is part of the company culture at Nintendo now. The program there is to monitor the progress of the game, but the player is there to drive the experience. I like to call this mindset thinking beyond the screen. It can be taken literally with experiences like Mario Kart Live, Nintendo Labo, and even 1-2 Switch. The focus is not on the screen, it's on the player. Nintendo is still a toy maker, and that makes them a better video game company.